Coming up, an inquest hears there weren't enough medics along the route of an SAS selection march in which 3 soldiers died.
Now, the latest ITV News Central with Matt Teal and Samina Ali Khan.
Hello and welcome to ITV News Central. On the programme tonight, an inquest hears there weren't enough medics along the route of an SAS selection march in which 3 soldiers died.
How a shortage of truckers could stop the country in its tracks.
How graffiti is transforming lives of young artists with spray cans.
The secrets of a Birmingham basement, once a treasure trove of precious possessions.
And I'll be live for the Aegon Classic in Birmingham as the Women's Wimbledon warm-up reaches the quarter-finals.
Good evening. A senior army medic who treated casualties during an SAS training exercise in which 3 men died has said there weren't enough medics to help.
He was giving evidence at the inquest into the deaths of Lance Corporal Craig Roberts, Lance Corporal Edward Mayer and Corporal James Dunsby. They died in 2013 during a test march on the Brecon Beacons. Our reporter Stacey Foster was at the hearing in Solihull.
The Army medic giving evidence here today could only be referred to as 1U, and he gave evidence behind a screen to conceal his identity. He said on the day of that 16-mile march of the Brecon Beacons back in July 2013, there were 3 medics working. The 3 men who died during that training exercise passed 5 checkpoints in total. 2 of them were manned by medics. When the coroner, Louise Hunt, asked him if he thought that was sufficient, he replied, no, it was not. Facing further questioning from Keith Morton QC, who was representing the father of James Dunsby, one of the men who died in this training exercise, he asked, did you consider that there were any deficiencies in the medical planning that contributed to the casualties of the 13th of July? 1U replied, yes, there were not enough medics. 3 men died during this SAS training exercise on the 13th of July in 2013, almost 2 years ago. The hearing into their deaths continues. Stacey Foster, ITV News, Solihull.
A teenager has died after being found with serious burns at a railway yard in Warsaw. Police were called to the Bescot Park railway depot at around 9 o'clock last night. The 19-year-old man, who was from Willenhall, was taken to the Queen Elizabeth Hospital in Birmingham, but he later died. Officers from British Transport Police say they aren't treating the teenager's death as suspicious.
1,000 taxi drivers in Coventry are being trained to spot signs of child sexual exploitation. The City Council says trained cabbies see things and communicate with people the authorities often can't reach. The training is being offered to around 850 black cab drivers and 150 private hire vehicles across the city in the coming weeks.
The trust, which runs hospitals in Cheltenham and Gloucester, has been told it must improve by the health watchdog.
It's after continuous failures to meet waiting time targets in accident and emergency. The Care Quality Commission also highlighted medical care and end-of-life care as needing improvement. Ken Goodwin reports.
The Care Quality Commission, or CQC, looked at 3 of the hospitals which come under the management of the Gloucestershire Hospitals NHS Foundation Trust. Gloucestershire Royal and Cheltenham General are the 2 biggest. Last winter, an internal major incident was declared because of pressure on their A&E departments. The CQC split its inspection into 5 categories. Are the hospitals safe? The trust was graded as requiring improvement. Is it effective? Again, requires improvement. Are the staff caring? That gets a good. Responsive? Requires improvement. And is the trust well led? That gets a good.
At times it was the patient's experience in A&E was not as good as it should have been. And The trust need to work with their partners to make sure that only the right people come into A&E, and also to address some of the staffing shortages that they've got there.
So there's plenty for the trust to improve. Your overall rating was needs improvement. You could have had good, you could have had outstanding. I'm assuming you're disappointed by that.
Yes, I am. I'm frustrated is a better word. It has more to do with the problems we experienced over the winter. Remember, the inspection team was in the early part of March, and had to do with the flow of patients into the hospital and the flow of patients out of hospital. So in the middle of winter, we had 100 patients who consultants said could go home who were still with us. Now we're down to about 50 or 60, but it's an ongoing issue which all the agencies in this county are working on.
The Gloucestershire Hospitals NHS Foundation Trust admits it has much work to do, but it is also proud that the hard and caring work of its staff has been recognised.
Ken Goodwin with that report. Now, the haulage industry in the Midlands needs nearly 4,000 new drivers to head off a chronic skills shortage. That's the message from transport firms, who are warning the crisis could threaten shop deliveries and even stall the economic recovery.
Well, the Road Haulage Association is calling on the government to put money into driver training as a matter of urgency. Peter Behan reports.
There would seem to be no shortage of lorries on the road, but there is, we're told, a chronic shortage of people to drive them.
Hello there.
Morning, boss.
Everything all okay?
Super job, no problem at all.
Kevin Johnson runs a haulage company near Rugby in Warwickshire. Drivers are so hard to come by, he's having to turn business away. This company currently has 76 trucks, but it's short of 15 permanent drivers, and it's having to fill those vacancies with agency staff. Why should the public care about this?
Well, because basically everything that we all own or have bought has spent some time on a lorry. It carries the economy. The economy is enjoying some growth at the moment. That will come to a stop if we can't deliver the goods.
The industry estimates it's short of nearly 4,000 drivers in the West Midlands. Among the reasons cited are the cost of getting an HGV licence and the difficulties new drivers face in obtaining insurance. With so few recruits coming through, this is an ageing workforce. The average age of the British lorry driver is 53. Dylan Kent spent 20 years behind the wheel before going into driver training. It's a career, he says, which many young people just don't consider.
Slightly unsociable hours. You're never absolutely sure when your day's going to finish. For me, it's all I've ever done. But it's like many other jobs. If you're going to be a lorry driver, be a good one.
With many drivers hitting retirement and too few taking their place, the industry says it's facing a perfect storm. This company is responding by putting on an open day to give members of the public the chance to drive one of its trucks and hopefully find some new blood. Peter Behan, ITV News, Rugby.
Well, earlier I spoke to John Howells, Regional Director of the Road Haulage Association, and began by asking him why there's such a shortage.
The problem we've got is the age of the drivers. We're seeing about 45,000 drivers approaching retirement, leaving the industry. And that means we've got a massive shortage. So we've got the vehicles, we've got the capability to deliver goods, but what we haven't got are the drivers to put in the cabs to get those goods delivered.
So how do you encourage young people to get into that kind of industry? I guess you assume it's something that older people want to do, but how do you attract the young in?
What we need to do is get into schools and colleges and actually first of all educate people of how good working in the road haulage industry is and the challenges that they can have there. The other issue is that we have a problem. The cost of getting into our industry. Driver licence acquisition for a driver of a commercial vehicle costs between £3,000 to £5,000, and what we really need is some funding from government to help us get people to be able to get that licence acquisition. Then the jobs are there for them to take.
OK, but what would you say to a younger driver watching this to encourage them into the industry? What is in it for them?
What I would say is what they need to do is take a look at the industry, the opportunities, because you can eventually end up owning your own business, because drivers can become owner drivers and eventually run their own business. So there are lots of opportunities there. Having found that information, we need them to approach us and we will help them as much as we can. But at the moment what we really need is that funding to help them get their licence acquisition. OK, well we're going to leave it there, but thank you very much for coming in and talking to us about it. Thank you. Thank you.
Well, the Department for Transport has told us it's working closely with the haulage industry to boost the number of HGV drivers, and that it has already invested £17 million in training, apprenticeships and advice. It says it will look into speeding up HGV driving tests and medical checks.
Now you're watching ITV News Central. Still to come on the programme this evening, the secret space under a busy city street.
On the programme this week, we've seen and heard how graffiti blights the lives of communities across the Midlands. But it's not just about unsightly scribbles and tags.
Well, to many, it's an art form that takes years to perfect. Rajiv Popat has been speaking to a man who first picked up a spray can aged 12. He now works with youth clubs, showing youngsters how graffiti can deter them from antisocial behaviour in a creative and legal way.
Follow that black line, innit? Round with it. My name's Ample, I'm a graffiti artist. I'm from the Leicester area. There you are, right there. Look, it's sussed it straight away, mate. I've been painting about on off all my life, but I've been painting again about 8 years. Do a lot of work with youth groups and yeah, quite a few youth groups in Leicester, teaching kids to paint, because I do think it's a good way of kind of getting them to express themselves a little bit.
Ample's first brush with graffiti was at the age of 12. Back then, he would leave his mark or tag on street walls.
When you're a kid, you just start out tagging. That's the only thing you know. It's the first thing that you get onto. But as you go along, you want to do more. It's a natural kind of progression. You're going to get into doing more colourful things, maybe some characters on the side, you know, more 3Ds and stuff like that. So I kind of find it's a progression to art anyway.
Hi, I'm Laura, I work at Braunston Grove. It's a youth centre for 13 to 19-year-olds. We help with CVs, we give young people a safe environment to be.
Youngsters also come here to relax, take part in various activities and to try their hand at graffiti in a legal setting with help from Ample. This is your first time graffitiing. How have you found it?
Oh, I found it very exciting. It's actually, I love it. I just want to keep doing it. Like, I just got the rush. Probably want to do my own name now. As a youth worker, I could just help young people obviously get out of the streets.
I find it quite amazing, to be honest. When you're actually doing it, like, it's fun. But if you see other people doing it, you might not like it as much, if you get me.
We've used graffiti as a way of engaging possibly some of the more harder to reach young people. It's about using it as a means to get that creativity out of them and sort of like put it in a more positive sense.
I would rather show them how to express themselves with a can of paint than them going out and expressing themselves with knives or doing what they're doing, you know, like getting into trouble. I'd rather them giving them legal spaces to practice like we do here, right, and having someone like me to teach them, and then this brings them through kind of the tagging stages and stuff like that. It brings them onto colourful work quicker. And yeah, I mean, if it gives kids something to do, it gets them off the streets. I don't think that's a bad thing.
In the centre of Leicester, there's a brook that cuts through the city with walls on both sides which are covered in graffiti.
We don't bother cleaning this. Hopefully they will use these walls to do graffiti and not around the city.
Hughie Blair is in charge of a team which clears graffiti from the streets of Leicester. Most of the time is spent removing ugly tags, but he says the brook attracts graffiti artists from all over the country.
Well, look at it, look, it's very, very good. Very, very good. As you go along, if you've got a spare 10 minutes or 20 minutes, have a walk along. Be careful, you don't fall in the brook though.
Ample also works as a professional artist and has produced artworks for individuals and organisations. His favourite was creating a beach scene at a residential home.
It was no lettering or anything like that. It wasn't a standard graffiti style. They just had to make it look like a beach. And it was for the people, the old people that live in the home that have Alzheimer's and sometimes need a relaxing place to go. Now, they can't take these old people out on day trips every time. So to put them in that room, it relaxes them a little bit. It's using graffiti for really positive things.
What do you enjoy about graffiti?
Oh mate, to paint pictures 6 stories high or as big as I can possibly make it, I get everything out of it. I love it, it's absolutely amazing. There's nothing like expressing yourself like that, and especially, you know, it's all right to express yourself as an artist on canvas, but that's quite constricting. To do it on this side of the wall is great.
He plans to continue working with youngsters. His dream is to travel far and wide, painting legal walls throughout the world. Rajiv Poppert, ITV News.
We like Campbell, don't we? It's very expressive.
Yeah, although I could not feel older at this point in time.
Oh, I don't
enjoy that.
We're bobbing along to the music.
I like the idea though. I'm thinking now
Yes.
my house next time it needs painting, and maybe I'll get the spray cans out or let the kids loose on the walls.
Shall I get you one of those little
to turn
caps,
backwards.
baseball caps? You can turn it back.
Yeah. I already got one. As soon as I leave here, oh yeah, all the way home.
I got an image in my head. I really don't want to share.
Let's get it out of there. Right, the national and international news follows us as usual, of course. Let's have a look at what's coming up with the details this evening. Here's Alistair Stewart.
Cameron reads the Riot Act to Muslims who quietly condone IS extremism. It may have led the family that fled Bradford astray, he said, and turned Britain's youngest car bomber into a murderer. Dylan Roof charged with the murders of 9 churchgoers in South Carolina. The governor there wants the death penalty. And Mo Farah categorically denies dodging tests and of ever taking drugs. Join Natasha Kaplinski and me at 6:30.
And still to come on our programme, the super dad who really deserves to put his feet up on Father's Day.
Fantastic story still to come. Sport now, though, and Wimbledon is edging ever closer. And it's the Aegon Classic in Birmingham, whetting the appetite for tennis enthusiasts.
Our sports correspondent Steve Clamp has been watching the action, probably been eating some strawberries as well, I guess. But Steve, a busy day at the women's quarter-finals.
A really exciting day. Now, Samina, you mentioned strawberries there. Well, Bob, my cameraman, and I, we did a recce on Monday and a recce today. We haven't seen a single strawberry or a drop of cream. There is a creperie over there, and there's a little restaurant selling, I'm sure, some nice bits and pieces, but no strawberries and cream. Gives me a business idea for next year. I'm sure you can guess where I'm going with that. But as for the action, yeah, it's quarter-finals day. What a great day, and the weather's held out for it. Some dramatic action. In fact, this is Centre Court, and it was packed just 45 minutes ago with the last game of the day. We've got some pictures from that for you. Ended in a thrilling rally as Sabine Lisicki won it. She won the first set in a tie-break. Second set she won 6-2, beating Daniela Hanchikova. Really dramatic, and of course a lovely celebration from her. Big moment, very exciting for her, getting through to those semi-finals. And in the semi-final she will face Angelique Kerber, who won the match before. This is the winning shot from Angelique Kerber. She beat Katrina Sinikova in straight sets, and after the match I spoke to Kerber and asked her how she was feeling about it all.
The crowd is amazing. I mean, I love to play here on the Centre Court. I mean, the fans are so nice and they are supporting you, so it's always nice to play in front. So many guys, they are really supporting you. I think it was a very close match. I mean, the score was not so close, but every single game was like advantage use, and she played very well. I knew it will be a tough match, but I was ready for that, and I'm very happy about my performance on grass right now. It's my first time in the semis here, and I really enjoy my week. Yeah, it's since like, I don't know, 5 years ago I was here, my last time, so it's nice to be back, and I'm looking forward to play tomorrow my semis.
I did ask the cheeky question of did she think she could go on to win it now, but she said too early to say. Ever the sportswoman, very good indeed. Now, it's not just tennis I've been covering today. This morning I went out to Leamington Spa. They had a tag rugby tournament going on, which was organised at Leamington Rugby Football Club. And we've got some footage from this. It's a nice event. There were 15 teams, 12 schools. Now what they do is they get Warwick University ladies team to come in, they get coached in tag rugby, they then go to the schools and teach the tag rugby, and then they come back for the tournament where they referee it. So it all works out quite nicely. In a moment we'll hear from the organiser, but first I wanted to know a bit more about tug rugby and how you play it, so I spoke to Gian and Evie from Barford St Peter's Primary School.
It's
non-contact rugby, so instead of tackling someone you have to tag them, and sometimes you can have a limited amount of tags which then the ball goes over possession, and it's just basically trying to score as many points as you can before the whistle goes.
And you wear these things, the tags, do people have to pull them off?
Yeah, you have to pull the tag off instead of tackling someone. I just love the fact that if it's played correctly, you can get from one side of the pitch straight down to the other, and it's a really good team game.
It's a brilliant game if you want to play mixed rugby with primary school kids, because we insist on having 2 girls in every team. That helps because the girls calm the guys down, because they get too excited about everything. So it calms them down, and they play better rugby because of that, and they learn the game. And the game's basically passing, catching and running, which is tremendous. Kids like it, I think.
I'm a big fan of tag rugby after today. Before I left the house, without prompting, my daughter did not know I was going to film tag rugby. She just out the blue said, "Do you know what, Dad? I love tag rugby." How bizarre. And then I went and filmed it, and actually the children love it. It is basically chase, isn't it, but with a ball involved. A lot of fun for them, and a good way to get them started in playing rugby, which is a complicated game, so if you can get them into it early, it's pretty good stuff. Now, as for the tennis here, I did say it had been a dramatic day. We've told you about a couple of those quarter-finals. Other dramatic developments saw Halep. She was the #1 seed. She went out to the giant killer that is Kristina Mladenovic of France. She's been knocking out all the big names, so she's into the semi-finals. And also she'll be joined by Caroline Pliskova from Czech. She went through straight sets for her against Navarro. So that is how the semi-finals shape up. Now they're supposed to take part tomorrow. Here we are, bathed in sun. You may have heard the forecast tomorrow is rain. If those games are all called off because of the rain, they'll move to Sunday. So those people who've got tickets for finals day may also get all the semi-finals. What a treat for Father's Day. Well, if you're coming, that is.
Steve, thank you very much. And there is a punnet of strawberries waiting for you here when you get back. Maybe.
Great idea, great business venture. Herefordshire strawberries, obviously. Right, now, other strawberries are available, of course, just to smooth it over. There is a striking old building on one of Birmingham's busiest roads. It's a redundant bank, but it still houses the old safe deposit vaults used by customers to keep their valuables safely locked away.
It's only people with keys to the boxes and authorised staff had access until now. And today, the boxes are all empty. But as Keith Wilkinson has been finding out, some of them once contained rather strange items.
I began at the initiative of Mr. Neville Chamberlain, then Lord Mayor of Birmingham, in 1916. This remarkable movement of municipal thrift has progressed to such an extent that after opening their first branch in an old public house, it now has over 50 permanent branches in every part of the city.
Birmingham Municipal Bank in the 1930s. It's been closed as a bank for many years, but its facade remains familiar to millions of people who've passed it in Broad Street. What isn't familiar is this, a secret world down in the basement, known only to a few. Here, people kept their treasures and a few other things.
We found out from stories that very strange things were kept down here when they decommissioned it and took out all the leftover items. There were things like a gun, human teeth, locks of hair, and you just kind of think there must be a story behind each one of these items.
Quite why people kept their teeth down here may remain a mystery forever. Guns and other items attracted the curiosity of the Birmingham police force.
Yeah, again, because of things, like I said, like, you know, there being guns or stuff stored in here, obviously the police from time to time would have to come and conduct raids if they believed that there was illicit items being kept in the bank.
The bank is a listed building, but its future isn't clear. Over the next few days, the public are being allowed in for tours.
The tours are open from Saturday the 20th of June running for 8 days, and people can come and look around the bank each day from 10 till 4, so they can go into the the main banking hall, but they can also come down and see these fantastic vaults, and it's just a case of turning up and booking onto a tour.
A rare glimpse into this long-abandoned subterranean world. Keith Wilkinson, ITV News.
Just got to check you've got your teeth, haven't you, really?
It's a little scary, isn't it, that? Yes. Why would you keep teeth in a bank vault?
I don't know.
I
Fascinating.
don't know. Who knows?
Now, on our website, a story about a dad who's really going to enjoy his Father's Day lie-in this weekend because he delivered not one, but 3 of his children at home.
Yes, Rob Keeling from Stoke-on-Trent was forced to play midwife because each time his partner went into labour, the babies arrived before the ambulance did. The National Childbirth Trust says Rob is quite remarkable. Head to the website for more on that story.
Yeah, well done, Mum, as well,
yes,
doing the hard work. Now then, let's get the weather forecast from Lucy Verisami.
Hello to you again. A very good evening. Well, this weekend is the summer solstice, can you believe? Sunday will be the longest day of the year, but far from the warmest. In fact, it stays really quite cool for all of us throughout the weekend. Considering it's the middle of June, temperatures will be very much on the low side for the time of year, but at least we will see some sunshine on Sunday itself. In the meantime, an awful lot of cloud cover. Staying mostly dry tonight, but dribs and drabs of rain moving through tomorrow morning. Behind the wet weather, we could see a few showers, but brighter skies return here and there. And come Sunday, things are looking so much better. As for the rest of this evening, an awful lot of grey sky, a good deal of cloud as the evening draws to a close. Any slithers of sunshine will be few and far between. And after a cool afternoon, feeling really quite chilly as the day draws to a close, those temperatures sliding away, and a similar theme tonight. We've got used to it now. Another chilly night ahead, a cloud coming and going with some drizzly spits and spots of rain here and there come dawn. So it could well be a soggy start to Saturday for some of us. Outbreaks of rain first thing, but then much of this wet weather pulls away. So a better afternoon, cheering up for most of us. Spells of sunshine trying to break through the cloud before a few showers crop up. And some of the showers could well be on the lively side through the course of the evening, where we keep the sheltered sunnier spots while feeling quite pleasant. Enjoy.
How are you today?
Lloyd's Pharmacy, proud sponsors of the Pollen Count.
Well, a glitch with our weather tomorrow with the cloud and the rain in places initially. Good news for hay fever sufferers. The upshot will mean lower levels of pollen, so things feeling a little more comfortable before those levels shoot up again on Sunday. See you soon.
Let's just get a reminder of tonight's top stories on ITV News Central before we go this evening. An inquest into the deaths of 3 men who died during an SAS training exercise has heard from a senior army medic who said there weren't enough medics to help. Lance Corporal Craig Roberts, Lance Corporal Edward Mayer and Corporal James Dunsby died in 2013 during a test march on the Brecon Beacons.
The trust, which runs hospitals in Cheltenham and Gloucester, has been told it must improve by the health watchdog after failing to meet A&E waiting time targets and issues with medical and end-of-life care. The trust admits it has work to do, but says it is proud the hard work of its staff has been recognised.
And just time to remind you that, as ever, there is plenty more from us on our website, including this story here. You can see how a female Second World War veteran is flying the flag for Armed Forces Day. ITV.com/central.
And that's it from us for tonight, except to say enjoy Father's Day on Sunday. And from all the team here, have a nice weekend. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.